Departing Van Isle Marina for Port Townsend. The plan is for an uneventful trip that we'll spend one night anchored out between here and Port Townsend, probably somewhere the south end of Lopez Island. Calm weather, probably going to be some rain, not much wind, and we're just about to hit the entrance of Van Isle Marina. There's the fuel dock and the customs station. Got the bimini up, but I'll probably take it down, get some better views for the camera here. And off to the left here is a buoy field. They're all private buoys, and I've yet to figure out the details, but some of them are for rent. As long as you have the power you need, don't care about being hooked to the shore, it can be pretty cheap. Not nearly as well protected, but bad by no means. There are a couple of larger boats. I don't know what that sailboat is, but she's pretty good size. Don't need fuel. On a trip from here, so far, everything that I've done has burned a quarter of a tank. That includes the trip over from swim, so still over 3/4 of a tank. Engine seems happy. She fired up on the first try. Crank it up a little bit here. One of the things that's going to happen fairly soon is that you can see that solar panel and the brackets holding it up. That's gonna go with the new panels. The new panels are thin, flexible panels that'll go pretty much right on top of the Dodger there, and get rid of all that clutter and obstruction and head hazard, injury hazard, with panels that are more efficient, lighter, and flexible. Good sized marina, real nice place. Sidney's great. Van Isle on the stern. Lots of homes with great views all over the peninsula here. The Saanich Peninsula is what we're on. I'll be rounding the northwest end of San Juan Island and following the San Juan Channel through down to Lopez. I'm going to fight the current just a little bit, not too bad, until I round the San Juan Island, and then I'll be following the current from there. So, barring unforeseen issues, should be pretty straightforward, uneventful trip. No weather. Should be anchored up mid-afternoon, maybe late afternoon. Just depends on if I poke around anywhere or not. Kind of anxious just to get to Port Townsend and get the sails. I won't try to put them on until I get back to Van Isle. Just it'll be a bit of a chore, especially not having done it before on this boat. Well, we'll check back in with you a little bit later. Say goodbye to Sidney and Van Isle Marina. There's Sidney. And a log. Sneaky log. Kind of a little debris field. Not sure how these things form, but they're probably the convergence of different currents going at different speeds. Stewart Island. I want to go there around the point, and then from there basically shoot for San Juan Island and down San Juan Channel. Now the reason why the boat is pointed that way instead of that way is because of the current. On the chart plotter here you can see the red line shooting straight out from the bow of the boat, and that tells you where you're pointed. The green line is actually the relative motion of the boat. So that's the direction the boat's actually moving, even though you're pointed along the red line due to the current, which is getting stronger and stronger by the moment. The boat's actually drifting to starboard. Now the little blue line with the arrow on it is telling me which direction the current is coming from. I don't remember what that is. Doesn't seem to care. Anyways, yeah, we're going there, but to get there without wasting time, we're pointing there. Wasn't that long ago you had to figure that out for yourself. No GPS and no GPS unit to do the math and figuring for you. So this is constantly calculating heading, drift, wind, factors all that in, so that if you enter in a go-to point or a waypoint like I have here, across that black line, black dotted line coming from the boat to there is where we want to go, where I've told it to go, and it's figuring everything out for me. So even though we're pointed a good ways away from it, we'll get there because of the drift. Now the San Juans are known for strong currents. Where I want to go is actually that way. But looking at the current charts for the day, we'll be fighting strong currents. By the time I get to the choke point at the north end of San Juan Island, which is what is in the center of your screen now, would be going against over 2 knots of current. So it's a little easier going, probably a little faster, just by around the point up here, and there's not such a large, or I guess small choke point, and there'll be less of a current to go against. Once we get past Stewart and get into San Juan Channel, then we'll be going with the current, and we'll have about a knot worth of current helping us along. And behind me, islands, many of which are private. Imagine pretty silly amounts of money involved with that. Nice houses with their own little docks and amazing views and so forth. They probably only spend a little time there each year. Here's the northwest corner of Stewart Island. Probably add this place to my list of potential retirement homes. Downside is there's no dock. But pretty classy. shortly we'll hang a right, turn around the corner on Stewart here, and shoot for the San Juan Channel. Pretty. The real nasty weather generally comes out of the southwest or the west southwest, so they'd have a nice view of that as well. I can't see it real well with the camera, but there's only 2 or 3 knots of wind, but you see all that ruckus going on there of waves. That's current ripping around the corner here. Kind of a good example of how strong the currents are here. That's all just water going probably 3+ knots. Almost like a river inside of the channel. That's the tip of Spiden Island. Pretty. Kind of dry looking. Friday Harbor. Not particularly interested in going there right now, except for maybe the fish and chips. Doesn't look nearly as crazy as I expected. Maybe we're not in the full swing of summer yet. Oh, I assume a little cruise ship there. Anyways, pretty day, sunny, about 70 degrees. Very little wind. If I had sails, it wouldn't be doing me much good for most of this trip so far. Sailboats motoring around. I'll certainly hit Friday Harbor at least a couple times here this summer yet. Start getting back out on the water. Some confused seas here. Must be the collision of some currents. Get into these little confused areas, it can be a little unsettling because the boat starts moving back and forth in all kinds of directions, acting kind of crazy. place is on my electronic chart as Richardson's Wharf, and it has fuel and repair services and water. I guess I'm guessing not. It's not like it's recently closed. Good thing I don't depend on it. Anyways, I guess a good reminder is the charts can't be relied on always, even these electronic jobs. Well, it's Monday, 5:30 p.m. and I just dropped the anchor on the very south end of Lopez Island in a bay called Alec Bay. Kind of off the beaten path as far as your typical anchorages go. Dummies like me, I guess. Not a super good anchorage if it's going to be high winds from the north. Other than that, I think it's pretty good, and have it to myself, at least for now. Chart says the bottom is mud, and looking at the beach, I believe it. And the anchor set so quickly that it made me uneasy, but I gave it a full reverse test and held fine. So that's another indication that it's mud. The particular anchor that the boat has that I'm using at the moment is fond of mud. So we're set hard, and I didn't bring the dinghy, so I don't even need to think about whether or not the beach is in some way private. I don't suspect that it is, but it may be fully connected to private property. Hard to know. Doesn't matter. I'm tired. I'm going to relax. It's supposed to be a calm evening, no high winds, and tomorrow we're looking at probably clouds and rain, but again, no nasty weather. Anyways, I'll go test my little anchor drag alarm and see if I can get it to go off. It's basically just a GPS that's, you can tell it to sound off an alarm if it drags at a certain distance, if you move a certain distance from the location that you set it at, which is for me very comforting, as I've always been nervous at anchoring. Just a thing. We're out the Strait of Juan de Fuca again. This is close to where Juan de Fuca meets Rosario Strait. This is Minor Island, kind of out in the middle of things. National Wildlife Refuge. Lots of cormorants and bald eagles and gulls, of course. Guess it's kind of the place to chill. And over here's Smith Island. I guess it's all a National Wildlife Refuge. It's also all marked on the maps as a naval operations area, so proceeding with caution. I don't know if Smith Island is closed to public. You never know with national wildlife refuges, I guess. And you can tell we're close to Whidbey Island Naval Air Base. Try to go between Minor Island and Smith Island, as a big warning light indicates. Anyways, I thought I'd take a close swing by and see what there is to see. Smith Island's kind of interesting too, in that it also has 2 submerged cables going to it, marked on the maps. So, well, don't know what for. I mean, there's some antennas there and so forth. Again, it may be all military related. But anyways, we'll come in for a little closer look, and then not far from Port Townsend from here. A little closer to Smith Island. Imagine that was a lightkeeper's house at some point when there was a real old-fashioned lighthouse on there. Be tempting to sneak on there one of these days. Yeah, big kelp bed coming up, fairly deep. See the Olympic Mountains in the background there. And we're gonna turn around before we hit this kelp bed. There's Minor Island back there. And there's a ballistic missile sub leaving Bangor. There are lead boats and tail boats with armed people who have zero sense of humor. I don't know that they're gonna care about how close I am. They don't get much closer. Not that I could keep up with them. That's a little bit of a treat. I've long since forgotten how to identify these by class. Though if it were Russian, I probably would. Had that shit drilled into me. I don't know how the magnification on this works quality-wise, but point they to submerge. I don't know if they bother submerging in the straits or not. Not all that deep. I'm at 250 feet here, and he's probably about the same, maybe even a little shallower there. So not that he couldn't if he wanted to. a good reminder that at some point soon I need to get a decent pair of binoculars.
Diamond Cutter, this is Victoria Coast Rail, switching after 73 altitude.
There's Point Wilson, a nice little state park that immediately borders Fort Townsend on the little peninsula here. Like most lighthouses nowadays, it's automated now. Anyways, gonna hang right after the end of the point here and be a few minutes out of my slip at Point Hudson in Fort Townsend. A little more Port Wilson. Just dig the lighthouses. Also a state park. And we start seeing Fort Townsend. With the ferry going in, as there's a steady stream of them. You can see one off to the port as well that just left. Air temperature dropped really rapidly just about an hour ago. Definitely thinking about rain, but not for a while yet. Coming around the point there, I was pushing against about 3 knots of current. So even though I was showing 5.5 knots going through the water, I was actually only making a little over 2 knots over the ground. Could have avoided it if I went out further, but no need. Hello, this is Paul. Oh, Friday night on my way back to Sidney. Anchored in West Sound on Orca Island. West Sound Marina. And real steep slope here, so I'm close to the shore, but I'm currently in about 25 feet of water. Had a rough time finding a decent anchorage. Things are, of course it's busy and it's Friday and tourist season and all that, but I wandered up here and a lot of rocky anchorages that I just couldn't get a good grab on. The anchor that I'm using is not of a modern design. I'm also finding that I'm a little short on chain for this area. Things to tweak and take care of. we should be good for tonight. Supposed to be light and variable winds tonight. Which is good. Make me feel a little less nervous about anchoring. Took a while to get a good grab here, and I had 2 previous spots. I just couldn't get a good grip the anchor, and I'm sure it's just the bottom is pretty rocky and gravelly, and but we're good. I think the thing I've learned very quickly is that as far as the anchor windlass go, the machine that raises and lowers the anchor, this boat has a manual windlass. There's no power, it's people powered. Good exercise, but if you have to keep resetting, it gets tiresome really fast, and it's also quite slow. And so all of the reading and research I've done, the manual windlasses are, there's a school of thought that they're rare to fail. They're heavily built. A good one is built well, and there's very little to go wrong with it. So there's that. The other school of thought is with a powered windlass, if you gotta reset your anchor, especially if you're in a hurry or in a storm or something, high winds, you don't want to have to be messing around with a manual windlass, a slow one at that. Plus all the exercise, you can get tired out in a hurry. Plus, if you're single-handing, you're up on the bow cranking that thing while the boat's doing who knows what, because you don't have anybody at the helm. So another advantage to a powered windlass is that you can control it from the cockpit. So between that and the idea that you could wear out fast if you were somewhere where you didn't have much choices as far as anchoring goes, and you had to find a good spot, and you had to keep resetting, I'm starting to like the whole powered windlass idea. So that's on the list. Anyway, it's time for a late dinner and probably a pretty sound sleep.